Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome into episode number 4 of our WWF 1992 save in TEW 2020. This is Superstars of Wrestling for January week 3. This is the go-home edition of Superstars before we get to the 1992 Royal Rumble. And again, I want to just thank you guys for all the great feedback that you've had so far on this series because, as we've said, this is obviously, the approach we're using from a booking standpoint has gotten the low ratings. It's not exactly perfect for the era. But we are trying to tweak some things to where we can at least keep it close to trying to replicate the way WWF booked it back in the day. But again, there's kind of just limitations with TEW. And but you guys have had some great suggestions, great feedback. And so after the Rumble, as I said before, there was something I was already going to kind of introduce into the series to maybe add a little bit more in terms of like trying to match the schedule and the formula that WWF used to book their shows back in the day, but you guys have added some awesome suggestions, and so I'm gonna add a little bit of those into it as well. So after the Rumble, won't be like a full reset or anything, but you'll see the structure of our shows changing a little bit just to try to keep things going. Because if not, again, we know what our ratings are going to be, and we're just going to keep losing popularity. So we'll find a way to make it work, but exciting though nonetheless with the nostalgia of 1992. So far. So let's jump in here. We got a little bit to get to here. We start with the pre-show. El Matador, Tito Santana gets the win over Barry Horowitz, 455, the flying forearm smash. So not a great match, but giving El Matador a little bit of a momentum here heading into the Rumble. He will be in the 1992 Royal Rumble match, so he gets the win on the pre-show here. And another team that gets a win on the pre-show, the Nasty Boys, the first time we've seen them here in a series, 41 match for this one, 240, getting the win over Chris Walker and Jim Powers. The trip to Nastyville does it, Chris Walker's performance here, a 19. That will not get it done in the WWF, no matter what show you're wrestling on. So, but hey, at least we're going to be beefing up the, you'll see after the Rumble, be beefing up the jobber squad a little bit. You have a few more jobbers added to the mix that can work a little bit better, maybe a little more popularity. So we'll see that. I mean, Walker's popularity was like a 8 or something, I think. So, yeah, it is what it is. But the Nasty Boys getting a victory, leading into the Rumble there. And then we have the British Bulldog getting the win over the Repo Man, another pre-show match here. 433, the running power slam, gets a 40. We see that they don't have chemistry, so at least we're getting the bad chemistry notes out of the way early. We've had a couple of those in the first several episodes, so getting those out of the way, it's fine. I mean, we just have to do what we can with it. But the British Bulldog and the Repo Man, they'll both be inside of the 1992 Royal Rumble match. We will see. Is the Repo Man going to pull off the unthinkable and be the winner of the 1992 Royal Rumble? You guys probably know the answer to that. Don't put your bets on him. That's for sure. All right, we're going to get to the main edition of the card here. And we start things off with a match. And wow, 62. I mean, come on. Listen, I know Slaughter's a main eventer, but I don't know that I could have expected a 62 rating from Sgt Slaughter and the Berserker, as Slaughter gets the win over the Berserker, 254, the Cobra Clutch. So, look, we're not trying to job out the Berserker, but, I mean, he's decent from an in-ring worker standpoint. So, he'll also be in the Rumble. So, maybe that gives him a chance. Maybe we should get him in the Final Four of the Rumble after this great performance here against Sgt Slaughter. But Slaughter does get the win. And, again, he's one of our main event baby faces right now, if you just look at the popularity. So, Slaughter will obviously be in the match as well. But yeah, I will take this 62. Given some of the other matches you guys have seen on Superstars, we will take a 62 match anytime we can get it. So Slaughter with the victory, and he'll be in the Rumble, as we said. And so will the Berserker. So maybe he'll get a little revenge in that one. All right, I'll tell you who else is going to be in the Rumble. He's going to bring some sophistication to the Rumble match, and that is Rick Martell. And he is with Sean Moody here, and we just kind of have your basic promo. This gets a 49, not great, but Martell's not that over. We just kind of put all these guys on the screen here, pointing out kind of like, 5 of the top sort of upper tier, upper card, mid card type baby faces that we put on here. Just Martell kind of taking aim at all of them. And again, talking about giving the Rumble match exactly what it needs. And that's going to be a little sophistication and a little arrogance. He says he will be bringing arrogance with him to the Royal Rumble match. And then he just kind of, runs down Bret Hart, Big Boss Man, the Bulldog, the Texas Tornado, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So, again, Martell just kind of playing up his very elite type character here and how he is going to give the Rumble a little bit of arrogance on Sunday. So, Rick Martell also joining these guys here heading into the Rumble. So, 49 here for the segment. All right, now we get a little bit better stuff here because this gets to 71. And basically, we needed a decent rating here because we're trying to meet the storyline threshold, which you guys have seen. We've gotten knocked for that on the final show rating for the first couple. We didn't have enough interesting storylines going on. This was the closest one, Bret Hart and the Mountie, to getting to that 65 number. I think it's at like 63. So we decided to, get a little creative here. And basically, we're just using this as an opportunity. Martell just took a shot at Bret and all that. So basically, it's just Roddy Piper using the microphone here on commentary to hype up the Intercontinental Championship match that will take place at the Royal Rumble. It will be Bret Hart defending the title against the Mountie. So just Piper hyping that up, and hopefully with the 71, that now gets us over for that fifth storyline that's finally meeting the 65 threshold. At least that's my hope. If not, we'll just, we'll lose more popularity like we continue to do. So, just Piper hyping up the match between Bret and the Mountie. We know that'll be one that's on the card as well with that match. Of course, LOD against the Beverly Brothers. That'll be your tag team championship matches, and we'll have another couple matches to let you know about here in just a second. All right, then we've got, I don't know why I'm laughing at this, but like when I went to book it, I'm just like the visual of seeing Tatanka versus Tanaka. It's just, you add a T in there or something. It's just, So it's just one of those things. But not a bad match here at 50. As we said, Tatanka would be in action this week, and he gets a win over Tanaka here in 311 with the Indian Death Drop. This is where I didn't really want to use Tanaka. He will be on the Royal Rumble card, and we'll talk about that in just a second, what his role will be. But we just didn't have a lot of heels to go to here that I thought could give this somewhat of a decent match. So we decided to go to Tanaka, who, of course, did have the better in-ring performance. He was a good worker. So, Tatanka getting the win, and he will be in the Rumble match as well. So, all right, now we get an interview here of Gene Okerlund with The Earthquake and Typhoon. Of course, they have Jimmy Hart as well with them. And, just putting over the size and the power of The Earthquake and Typhoon, and they're perhaps favorites in this Rumble, given their size and all that. So, just these two kind of pushing that they will rumble until they are the last men standing, and all that. And so, Gene's kind of trying to poke a little bit, and Jimmy Hart's like, Gene's poking, well, what if you two are the final two men left in the Rumble? And Jimmy Hart's like, we're not going to talk about that, Gene. These two are going to throw everybody out of there, and then we'll see what happens from there. So, basically, just Earthquake and Typhoon putting themselves over here, and how they are going to, the Quake, right? The Rumble, the ring's going to be shaking with these two in there and all that. So putting these two over heading into that match. So 65 here for this one. All right, now we get a tag team match here, and it is worth noting on commentary that Vince and Roddy Piper are pointing out that the new foundation, Owen Hart and Jim Neidhart, trying to gain a little momentum because they're going to have a tag team match at the Rumble, and it will be against the Oran Express, which in reality was actually a match that did happen, I think, in 1992 at the Rumble. So we are adding that one to the card. It will be the new foundation taking on the Oran Express. So, but they're not able to build momentum here because it is Money Inc., Ted DiBiase, Erwin R. Shyster getting the win as DiBiase is able to, I know I always forget to do the pinfall finishes because I forget how many finishes seem to be submission based here, but we'd rather have Ted DiBiase pin Jim Neidhart. Well, Jim Neidhart's not giving up, come on. But the Cobra Clutch, we'll give it there. Blatant cheating, so we did a little shenanigans work here. But as you see, I mean, DiBiase still at this point, 82 on the in-ring performance and all that. So, yeah, not bad for old Ted here. In this one, but a 52, and kind of pointing out that, new foundation maybe almost had him build more momentum heading into that Oran Express match, but yeah, a little cheating from none other than Ted DiBiase and IRS. So that is kind of what we're pushing there. Then we go to the back, Sean Mooney with Shawn Michaels and Sensational Sherry, and this gets a 52 here for this one. And, Sean Mooney basically just asking for Michaels' reaction to his debut match last week. The new Shawn Michaels, we're continuing to push that sort of motto here, the sexy boy and all this other stuff. And so Michaels just saying, this is just the beginning. You haven't seen anything yet. And he's going to go in and win the Rumble. But before he does it, he's going to take on Coco Beware. And that's another match that we're adding to the undercard at the Rumble, which I know people had pointed out in the comments too, and this was kind of always our original plan. This was a period where like every single match on the pay-per-view card did not have this long, drawn-out story or anything like that. Like it was just sort of, all right, get some people over, find a way to do that. So we're doing that here. Shawn versus Coco. We're building it up as, look, maybe they had a little skirmish at a recent house show, that kind of stuff. And so we're kind of building it that way, but obviously nothing that's really played out on TV from an angle standpoint. But you guys know why we're putting the match on the card, so I don't have to tell you that. Shawn Michaels versus Coco Beware added to the undercard at the Royal Rumble. So that will join, as we said, the New Foundation versus the Oran Express. LOD will defend the Tag Team Championships against the Beverly Brothers, and Bret Hart will defend the Intercontinental Championship against the Mountie. We'll see if I add anything else to the mix, but as of right now, there may be one other thing we're going to add to it, because look, too, it's like, the matches as well. We got the Rumble match, and that's about it, in terms of carrying the ratings and all that stuff. So there may be one other thing I'm going to add to the mix, but as I said, we're not really worried necessarily about popularity just yet until after the Rumble, where we make a few tweaks, then I think we'll be fine. So even if the Rumble does not do great from a popularity standpoint, it'll be okay. But Michaels taking aim at Coco here. These two will face off in singles action at the Rumble. 52 for this one. All right, now we get a promo with Gene, and he's with DiBiase and IRS. So basically playing this up as though they're doing the promo after the match and all that. And, they are kind of pushing here that, Ted DiBiase's saying that they will, find a way to get the best Royal Rumble numbers that money can buy. And, Gene's just, the usual Gene. He's like, what do you mean by that? What are you talking about? What are you going to do? And we know what the $1 Million Man's up to here. So DiBiase saying that he's going to, get the best Rumble numbers. And, he's heard everybody else talking about the Rumble. He's heard about, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, all of these other guys, the British Bulldog, Bret Hart, all these other guys he knows are going to be in the Rumble. But DiBiase saying that maybe even Earthquake and Typhoon, we may have to buy their numbers from them. And so we're kind of playing up, as we said, one of the starting feuds here was DiBiase and IRS and like the stuff with the natural disasters, Jimmy Hart's allegiance, all this kind of stuff. So adding in a little bit of storyline tidbit in here. You guys will see how it plays out eventually, but just kind of adding that little bitty nugget into this one. So 71 for this, and we'll see what DiBiase is able to pull off here, making a claim that he will buy the best Royal Rumble numbers that money can buy. So, all right, now we get to what is not necessarily our main event here on the show, but we are, as we mentioned, we were going to try a couple different things, and I'm glad some of you guys agree with this and actually suggested in the feedback. As we kind of pulled this off on the last episode, we were like, hey, Hulk Hogan had a match at the house show. The Undertaker interfered, kind of a way to push that story forward a little bit. So this is a match, Randy Savage versus Haku. So we're not really pushing this as though it is live on Superstars, but we are pushing it as though this was a match that recently took place, and you'll see that it's really all about the angle afterwards that we're pushing. But what happens? We get a 79 out of this for a match, so we need that. Savage, 94 on the in-ring performance here. Okay, so remember where Savage was January of 92. Tremendous stuff from Randy Savage. But so this gets a 79. It gives us a good match, and we can kind of push it as though we're showing highlights from a recent match that Randy Savage had with Haku. But as I said, it's really more about what happened during and after the match between Randy Savage and Haku. And that is, by the way, Savage gets the win, 829, the flying elbow drop. But what happens? Well, he's back again. So right after Savage gets the win, we get a cheap shot here from Jake the Snake Roberts. So Jake gives him a cheap shot. Crowd's going nuts, as we know. And then, he had said, like, we had kind of the distance where Jake was in the aisleway, Elizabeth was down by the ring, Savage was in the ring, Savage gave chase. That was one of our recent, developments in the storyline. But now, Roberts actually takes out Randy Savage, so he gets the cheap shot on him, and then what does he do? He sets his sights on Elizabeth. So now Savage is down. He's not like he was the previous time where he just came out of a match and all this, and he just goes after Jake. Savage is down now, and here is Jake, who comes over to Elizabeth, and Jake is ready to pull out his snake. And we're talking about, of course, the one in the bag. And Jake is, kind of going after Elizabeth here, and he goes over, And just before, he can get to Elizabeth, we see this host of officials coming down the aisle, and they're able to get between Jake Roberts and kind of pull him back from Elizabeth, who's just screaming because she knows Jake's coming after him. Jake's about, to unleash the snake here, all of this stuff. So, and then Savage eventually able to kind of come to here, but the officials have kind of pushed Jake, towards the back, but then Savage goes chasing again. So we're kind of playing this up where Savage just trying to get after Jake yet again here, and that's kind of how we leave it on that. So first time Jake didn't get that far. Second time Jake almost gets to Miss Elizabeth, but not able to do it, and Savage even more pissed off than he was before. And like I said, I just finished watching the WWE Rivals episode for this storyline, Jake and Savage. And again, remember, we're kind of starting our own little history here. I know they had all the stuff that happened, back in November, December, all that, but we're kind of starting this from the beginning of our save. So we're not necessarily tying everything in that happened beforehand. We're just, again, kind of starting our little alternate history here with this. So yeah, just keep that in mind, because I know they had already kind of taken it to quite a level before this save started, but we're just kind of, again, doing a blank slate here and kind of going with that. So, all right, so there you go, 87 for this segment, and we know this rivalry as heated as ever heading into the Royal Rumble, which these two will be a part of. All right, we heard it last week. Roddy Piper let us know that he had heard in the rumor mill that Sid Justice was officially cleared to return from injury and that he would be in the 1992 Royal Rumble match. And so 69, nice rating here. Gene with Sid, and, just kind of don't have a lot here from Sid, because this was all about menace for Sid at this point, and Sid just yelling about how he is officially back and he is ready to clean house in the Royal Rumble. And so, yeah, it's just kind of a pretty short promo here. We're not going to have Sid talking for 5 minutes or anything. So nothing more than that, just to put over kind of the menace of Sid, just the visual of this huge guy, and Gene just kind of putting him over as one of the favorites to win this Royal Rumble match. So nothing more than that, just kind of giving you the visual on Sid here as he joins a very stacked lineup of stars heading into the 1992 Royal Rumble. And speaking of that, that is how we wrap up the show. Just kind of having a little bit of a video package here, looking at recent promos and all that stuff. So this is kind of just your go-home segment for the Rumble, putting over, all the different highlights of, again, whether it's Hulk Hogan, we've heard from him over the past couple weeks, The Undertaker, we've heard from him, we've heard Ric Flair talking about guaranteeing the winning the Rumble, kind of putting over just the rivalry between Jake and Savage, Sid, Return, DiBiase talking about all this stuff, the earthquake, mentioning, how he and Typhoon are bigger than anybody in there. So really, again, this is just kind of your little basic hype package here to put over, this match, basically, and putting over some guys who we've featured over the past several weeks here on Superstars, whether it is live, whether it's from, tape type stuff. So that's kind of how we're playing this up. And look, the reason we did it is because we knew it'd give us a great rating to finish the show, which is always helpful. So yeah, that's kind of how we go off the air here, just pushing a lot of the guys that we mentioned. Not just these guys, a lot of other people. The British Bulldog, Bret Hart, the new Shawn Michaels, Rick Martell, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, the Big Boss Man. A lot of different guys who will be joining this group, as we said, going into this Rumble match. Tatanka, Typhoon, pretty stacked roster at this point. And that's one of the, most exciting things, I think, moving forward, just given how awesome this roster is of guys that we have. And we know there are people out injured too, like a Mr. Perfect who's not even available. So yeah, it's going to be pretty fun, I think, to keep building this, especially once we make these tweaks to to the schedule. So there you go. That's kind of how we finish up this edition. And there we go. That looks a little bit better than the what do we have? 68 and something else, 67 maybe for the first two episodes. So now we get an 81. So we will take that. We're okay with this. And like I said, the big problem was not necessarily booking of the shows. It was the fact that we did not have the 5 storylines that were meeting the 65 on the Heat. And so by doing this Piper segment here, putting over the Brett Mountie storyline, there's no doubt that took it over the 65 and got us to where we needed to be. So big help there. And like I said, I know we're not fully replicating the approach just yet for Superstars and everything, but we're working with what we have within the limitations, and we will make some changes that I think will be pretty interesting and keep it, I think, fresh for just kind of the era. And again, you guys know this is this is already way different than any of the other shows that I book in terms of the other series and stuff. So we're trying to get there. It's just we work within the limitations we have here with this one. So there you go. 81, our best show yet leading into the Rumble. Let's see what we get to before we wrap up. All right, so that was Superstars of Wrestling. Positive show. Finally, we get a show that people like. Let's look here. Clash of the Champions. Let's see what Clash of the Champions did. 18,027. That's quite a few people with the Rosemont Horizon there. Excellent show, so they struck gold. Not surprised. Hell of a roster for WCW at this time. Let's see what we have that's interesting here. So 81, Rick Rude defeated Ron Simmons to retain the U.S. heavyweight title, so that was probably a good match. Arn Anderson and Dustin Rhodes. Larry Sabisco and the Great Muta pulling off an 82 here. Sting. Okay, let me just tell you, I don't remember many tables matches in WCW in 1992. Sting defeating Terrence Taylor, the former Red Rooster, getting the winner. Terry Taylor, 82 for this one with Sting. So, boy, they went cage match and tables match back to back. Steve Austin, wow, look at this one. There's not, it's just one of those like weird things, right? Steve Austin defeating the Junkyard Dog, which sounds like a pretty fun match, in a cage match to retain the WCW World Television title, and then Sting defeating Terrence Taylor in a tables match back to back. So WCW went extreme here. Now, here's talk about a Hoss fight. Big Josh over Abdullah the Butcher, and then Elegante over Richard Morton. Poor Richard Morton. He's not winning the size battle on that one. Let's see what else they had. The Young Pistols defeated Brian Pillman and Tom Zink in DQ match for the tag titles. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty interesting card there for WCW here at this particular show. So 78, not bad there for them. Let's see if there's anything around here we need to look at. Tony Atlas going to begin a new storyline. All right. Honky Tonk Man. All right. So they're just picking up where we left off, I guess, about 5 or 6 years earlier, maybe, with those kind of guys. So, all right. So I see we have an incident. We have had an incident like every single week so far in the save. So the Great Mood is gone from WCW. He's still in New Japan. I have him on my short list because, of course, I do. It's the Great Muta. So drug test fees. God, the drug test fees. We're going to have to really up that number here soon. Okay, who's it going to be? I'll let you guys guess, and then we'll give it 5 seconds. I'm going to give you 5. I have no idea who this is, but I'm going to say it's probably like, I don't know, Jake. It's got to be Jake, right? Oh, it's Sid. Okay, well, it's Sid. Oh, boy. I just brought Sid back. Now let's see the problem that we have here. Sid has been identified as a hard drug. Of course he is. I mean, everyone, we know how it works in this particular save, and this is why I like the mod, because, boy, okay. So, Sid has an intense personality. So how are we going to handle Sid, who we just brought back and, of course, is going to be put in a pretty prominent position at the 1992 Royal Rumble? Boy. I mean, look, are we ever really going to get Sid to improve his behavior? So maybe we just give him a stern warning. How about that? I know we sent Jannetty to rehab, but we already did this with the Boss Man, too. I don't know if I told you guys this. So the previous week, we had the Big Boss Man, the same situation. And we did something, and Boss Man just got pissed. Like, we didn't suspend him. We didn't send him to rehab. We didn't even fine him. I think we just gave him a stern warning and a slap on the wrist. And Boss Man is angry. So that's not good. We're already having issues there. But I'm going to give Sid a stern warning, okay? I know I maybe should choose another path, but I'm afraid that if Sid gets upset, he's going to no-show the Rumble. And we cannot have that happen. So we're just going to give him a stern warning, all right? Okay, well, negative impact. Harvey Whippleton, he's happy. He's like, friends with Sid. He's okay, but Sid's pissed. All right, well, who's not pissed at us right now? So the Boss Man's upset. Sid's upset. There you go. So tensions are rising leading into the 1992 Royal Rumble. We'll see who wants to do business, who does not want to do business, but that's one of the fun things in this particular save that I don't necessarily have to deal with in the other series that we do here on the channel. So I do like having the difficulty of trying to figure out exactly how we want to manage some of these guys. So, nonetheless, Sid's pissed. The Boss Man's pissed. I'm not, because we're heading into the 1992 Royal Rumble. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and check out all the other stuff on the channel. The WWE 2024 save. I know it's probably been about a week and a half since I put up a new episode on that one. With that, I believe as of right now is next in line for the next episode. So I'm working on that one already. So that should be up soon, and that'll kind of be similar with this save in that once we do the next, that's going to be the go home edition of SmackDown before Elimination Chamber. So and next week's going to be a pay-per-view week here on the channel. We got the TCW save going. Check that out. We're almost 40 episodes into that one. A lot of fun with the TCW save and the C-Verse. And just so you guys know, I will say it up front, it's probably one of my busiest weeks of the year, just from a work standpoint. So I have to work this thing, over the next several days. So I'm going to do my best to kind of get the pay-per-view preview episodes out. I know those aren't always the most favorite for everybody, but I always do a pay-per-view preview, even if it's like, 10 minutes or something, just to kind of hype up the storylines leading into the show. So we'll do that for this series. Hopefully we can get SmackDown up on the WWE 2024 save. That way I can get the pay-per-view one, kind of go ahead and record it ahead of time, knowing that I'm going to be pretty busy over the next several days. So, so I'm going to do my best to kind of get a couple more videos out this week for you guys, but I'm just letting you know it's kind of a very hectic schedule this week, so I'm going to do my best to keep these kind of pumping out. But like I said, maybe a pretty big pay-per-view week next week here on the channel. So hit that subscribe button. Always appreciate the great feedback. And again, hope you're enjoying the series thus far, the nostalgia of 1992. But on the next episode of our WWF 1992 save, it will be our official 1992 Royal Rumble preview.